Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a Saturday night. Saturday night. Today is the 22nd of July, 2022. I want to welcome you to Talking Sip Saturday night. And of course, the topic which I will be, I coined this topic to a certain extent, which is, and it's very simple. And the topic is who will deliver the change? Who can deliver the change? And the big question is what change it is. Who can deliver the change? But before I go any further, let's see what we are drinking tonight. Now, as I said, I'm not a drinker, but uh, talk and sip is about drinking something and having a conversation. And as I said before, it came about from the lockdown period, whereby we had to lock in with ourselves as well, and that's the whole thing. Hey, Anil, how you doing? Okay, let me see.
I am good. You hear
Ah,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. How you
Yeah,
doing, buddy?
I am good, man. I'm good. How are
It's
things?
yeah, everything is okay on this side of the pond. Lots of developments happening in the UK, of course, as you realize, if you,
Mhm.
anyone who is following um, things. We just had the elections, the three by elections which happened recently. The Boris Johnson, the seat which he ran away from, the Conservatives held that by the skin of their teeth. What is
456 votes.
how much? 400? Oh, you got it.
456 votes that they won.
A massive swing, but Rishi Sunak said, "Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as a damning." He said it shows that people are willing to stand up for certain things like the ULEZ. ULEZ is something which the Sadiq Khan want to do, and the Labour Party won one, and the Lib Dem won one. So
Yes.
therefore, it's split three ways. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess a win is a win in any case, whether you win by 10 votes or five, it's a win, right?
Yeah.
It's just like when you play football and someone say you win, you could win by 6 goals or you could win by one. Doesn't matter. It's still a win.
Still a win.
Yeah. I think the interesting piece, I don't remember where, but there's a seat that they have held since World War II, conservative.
Yes.
I think that's a much more telling of the mood of the country.
Mm.
And to your point around, who is going to sort of make the impact that the people want. So obviously, if I was the prime minister or the Conservative Party and you have a seat that, what, 1945, so almost 70 years.
Yes.
It's a message. And the question becomes, is the message too late for the Conservative Party to sort of figure out what change or what messaging they need to provide to the people for them to drive confidence that they're going to make the impact that the people want?
Well, one of the words which kept coming through by the different punters, the different media houses, was this: who can deliver change? That was the key word. Who can deliver change? And I tried and I coined the topic tonight. Who can deliver change from the Conservative, the Lib Dems, uh, the Labour, and also the prospective MPs. Well, there was a young MP as well. He was 25 years of age. He's going to be the baby of the house. And guess what his name is?
Silburn.
His name is Keir. Same as Keir Starmer. Keir.
So is it scare them crew?
No. Keir. No, Keir Starmer.
Oh,
No, Keir.
Kears.
Yeah.
Ah,
No, Keir Starmer is the leader of the Labour Party, and Keir is the new
okay.
MP, the 25. So Keir said, "I've never said well done to myself before. Well done, Keir." Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's an interesting time, and you're a student of history. I am a
Mm,
student of history. If our listeners, let's go back to 1919, World War One, and then World War Two, and across the world, you have people that says who could deliver the change.
Yes.
And back then, what they said, you have, and I'm going to put elites in buckets of one, right? That you have all these elites that have taken the country into war, into financial ruin, etc., etc.
Yeah.
They went with others that has no political fortunes, no money, etc., no experience in politics, right? They turned to something different. And it's the same thing that you're seeing history sort of repeating itself, where if you really think deeply about it, in my opinion, Sir Bernard, and you and I have talked about this, the Congress, in the UK, you have sort of the member of parliament, the House of Commons, right? That was a traditional space for both entity, whether it's conservative, Labour, Democrat, or Republican, to debate issues that were important to the people and either meet in the middle, or the argument was compelling enough for change that one side adopted.
Yes.
In the context in the world we live in, we don't have that debate anymore. It's always, and I said this to you, if you plant a tree and you said a tree is going to help, alleviate climate change, the other side would say you didn't plant the right tree.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where we are living in an interesting time, and democracy cannot flourish if you don't have people talking together. And I think that's what we're having here. And I think you see there's an echo.
Yeah, can you hear an echo there? I'm trying to sort of something here.
Yeah, there was a feedback.
Yeah.
And I think you see people are saying, hold on, we have one form of government and we have another form who is trying to get power. And the people are wrestling with the fact to say, can any one of these entities bring about change? If you and I are what we call, I call myself Gen Z. I don't know what you call yourself, but
Ochiman.
Well, Lester now said he's from Ochi, so I don't know if you want to leave Ochi now, because Lester Ochi.
Well, let's say it's in Ochiris now.
But now he said he's a Ochiman, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think, if I was and Kier, you said the person who just won, you have to stand for something different, something that will allow people to have confidence that you have their best interests at hand.
Yes.
And I don't believe the citizens across the world is believing that the powers that be have their interests at hand, and that's why they're clamoring for something. And I think that's why a seat that was held for over 70 years, switch party. It's a huge message. So it's tough, because I don't believe the issues and the challenges that the world face is one of a Democrat or Republican or a conservative or a liberal, right? It's things that people are feeling, and we have to find solutions that benefit the people. And I don't believe, and others might disagree, I don't think there's a Republican solution or a Democrat solution. It's a solution that's best for the people. And I think if we start thinking that context and start hold our elected official accountable for providing a result, I think we're going to continue to see where folks are so disconnected. And I say that where, after you've been in politics for so long, you lack the empathy, you lack the connection with the people. So you don't think about the policies and the downstream impact. So it's easy for you to say, let's go do X, Y, Z, because for you don't know really what the impact is. But the common man and woman they're feeling it, but you're not. So you continue to sit in what we call your echo chamber. And
Yeah.
I do believe we have to figure out how to move away from that and get to a collective solution. And
Yeah.
the last thing I would say, I think also, Silburn, is gone are the time when we depend on each other, right?
Yeah.
Whether, if you're a religious person, is a church, other civic group, etc., your community. I think now we look to government to solve
All problems.
right? And I think problems can be solved by we the people, and I think we have to figure that out.
Well, listen. Let's see if we can solve one problem by ourselves. What are you drinking?
A friend of mine recommended champagne, so I'm drinking some champagne right now.
Drinking some champagne. Well, I just have some Merlot here, just a little red. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women, women and women, men and men. I got to be political correct, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm on Instagram. What are you drinking? Let me know what you're drinking. It's Talking Sip Saturday night. And I'm just having a little wine. I won't go more than that, and some water, you know. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going live on Instagram. I'm going live on TikTok. I'm going live on Facebook, and I'm going live on YouTube. Someone contacted me and said he find it fascinating that I'm calling out all these different platforms I'm on. I was trying to get everybody to go on one, but you realize you cannot control people. You can't control people. You're trying to tell people to go one place, but people are satisfied in where they are. That is why I really had an issue with this whole censorship thing when they were trying to censor people as to what they can say, what they can do. Now you got Thread. You have Threads. You know, I'm not on Threads. You know what I mean? I just followed Barack Obama. Is on it now, 2 point something million. I mean, you know, hi, it's Sandra. How are you? Having water? Okay, you having water? Yeah.
So the interesting thing,
yeah,
in sort of our cultural dynamics of Jamaica, when you say Threads, hey man, you have on some nice threads there, talking about your suit, right?
I wonder what was the background to the creation of the word Threads by Mark Zuckerberg, because Facebook was very it was just Facebook, you know. Threads.
I think, if I get this correct, he was in an interview and he talked about how you take the threads of conversation and stitch them together in the public square.
Okay.
I think that's where the perspective comes from. But the question for the sort of the general public is, what's the utility of any one of these sort of platform, right? Obviously is connection, right? We're talking on this platform, you're in the UK, I'm in the US. So there's a huge connective tissue where we are able to connect with each other. But you have Twitter, right? And obviously Elon Musk bought Twitter because his vision is to have a public square that all voice are welcome, right? And then leave it up to the community to sort of regulate itself within boundaries and within sort of the structure of free speech, right? And we've heard about sort of what some of these platforms and the issue. So I'm not sure the problem that Thread is trying to solve, right? I think that's why, if you look at the article recently, they went to 100 million, which is historic because TikTok took a year to get to 100 million. And I think Thread took maybe about a week to get to 100 million. But now the active users have dropped tremendously, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's complaint from Elon Musk that pretty much Thread is just a copy of Twitter. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic.
Well, someone said, just to bring in the different views, it's Sandorona said, unraveling of thoughts. That's what Thread is, unraveling of thoughts. That's her perspective of the person's perspective of Thread. Unraveling of thoughts. The other bit about Elon Musk, because I was talking to someone about goodwill, and as you know, goodwill is a major cost factor, isn't it, when you're doing business in your balance sheet, and they said the goodwill that was left with Twitter dissipated. Would you say that with Elon Musk taking over?
I'm not sure what it's meant by goodwill has left. Um, I do give credit to an individual who
Yeah.
believe in a cause in the sense of Elon Musk that says, I believe in freedom of expression,
Expression. Yes.
etc. I believe we don't need to control speech in a way that impede sort of you and I sort of values, right?
Yes.
It should be left up to you and I to determine and be able to check to make sure the content we're consuming
Mm.
is relevant and it's factual, right? And I give him credit for then say, you know what, I'm gonna buy this platform
Mm.
and leverage it in a way that we have a true public square. Because is what I just said in my when we're opening is democracy is not gonna flourish if we can't talk to each other, right? We will have different views, right? We have different cultural background because at the end of it, I do believe this. We all have our own stories, right?
Yeah.
There's no difference between you and I and a guy that was born in China. There's no
Yeah.
biological difference. The
Yeah.
difference is the stories that we have grown up, whether it's a religious story, whether it's your job story, whatever it is, right? It's what drives human connection.
Yes.
So to me, we have to able to have discussion, right, in a way that sort of progress sort of the conversation into a manner that we're able to solve things together.
Mm.
But if we're going to have a world where you're going to sit in your corner, I'm going to sit in my corner, I'm going to think that everything I say is factual, and you're going to think the same thing. There's no
Yeah.
meat in the middle. And that's why we have such a huge divide, which, there's some people that says that social media has divided us more so than ever. But I would also add to that is folks are getting lazy. Folks are not willing to go read.
And the
It's
researching,
know,
researching.
exactly. It's just like there was a big article. I think it was last year or the year before, and it was talking about productivity in the pandemic, and it talked about the rise of productivity, and everyone leveraged that study to say that hybrid work is much more productive, and remote work, etc., and ideating over Zoom. But Harvard and a couple others just did a much more detailed study. The interesting bit that they left out of that study
Hmm.
was that productivity went up, but the number of hours that you work also went up. So obviously, if you're working more hours, it's going to
Obviously.
show that productivity has increased. But whoever wrote those articles didn't add that piece to it. That says, by the way, you Stillburn, you used to work 40 hours before the pandemic. Now you're at home, you're working 60. Obviously, productivity is going to go up,
Yes.
but it wasn't because you're working from home. So I share that bit to say, we have to figure out how to communicate in a way that is valuable and respectfully. And
Well,
unfortunately,
yeah.
we're not there.
Mm. Well, look at this one, and this is a classic one. And when it comes on to communication, and I bring this one because it's one that sometimes angels fear to thread, and people fear to thread on this one, and people say don't go there. But in recent days, the Jamaican government and the U.S. government, they said, had a spat, a diplomatic spat, and it was because the U.S. embassy, our U.S. government, is alleged want to send a diplomat to Jamaica and also want that diplomat to have diplomatic immunity. That person that they want to send with the person that is their partner, their marriage partner. They, I don't know if it's male or female, but they are same sex. And they inquired twice of the Jamaican government. They didn't respond. They demanded, and then they came back and said no. And the no was because it would be deemed that Jamaica is accepting a gay marriage when on the books in Jamaica it is illegal. you know, and of course factions have now taken that, and there's this big hoo-ha. But the minister Kamina Smith came in and said it is not a big thing, or it's like a storm in a teacup. We're going through the process of what we have to do, you know, and therefore the the communication. I don't know. One has got to be so wise with the communication at this time, even though I've got certain views. But what's your take on this? I don't know if you spoke to Biden and what Biden said.
No,
Yeah,
I heard of it, but I get it and understand there are laws in Jamaica,
yeah,
but I could be wrong. But as I understand diplomatic engagement,
mm,
the embassy and the grounds of the embassy in any country, whether it's a US embassy or the Canadian embassy or the British embassy, it's considered the grounds of the UK, right? So
okay,
if you are in Washington, D.C., and you're at the
yeah,
British embassy, as I understand it, that is covered under the legal authority of the UK government. So
yes,
to me, it seems to me, and again, I'm not an expert in this, but it seems to me, if that is true, that the embassy grounds in Jamaica is considered U.S.
U.S.
property,
soil, U.S. soil, isn't it?
U.S. soil, just as how the Jamaican embassy here in Washington D.C. is considered Jamaican soil.
Yes,
So it seems to me that if you have two-person and yes, they need to go to Jamaica, it should be, to me, I get the perception on the other side that says that, but did we have to politicize that discussion, right? Because I'm sure it's not the first time it has come up, right?
yeah,
And the question becomes, why did the Jamaican government not respond to the
yes,
inquiry, right? And what I understand, the implication of that is that there's some senior ambassadors that
mm.
are not getting their visas, their 5-year visas renewed as a
The
result.
the Jamaican equivalent,
Right. And I
or
heard Arjun Marks might be impacted,
yeah,
and there's another gentleman, I think, down in Florida might be
yeah,
impacted. So,
yeah,
so the question is that the fight you want to pick?
yeah,
Right. It's a matter of priority. I get the perspective of the Jamaican
yeah.
people to say, look, if we do this, we're accepting that. But is that a true statement?
Can I break it down and flag up some of the hypocrisy in the same time? Okay, let's go back to the diplomatic bit there. And the classic example is Julian Assange when he
Julian
was in,
Assange, yeah,
yeah, when he was in the UK here, and in the Ecuador
embassy,
consulate embassy, and the UK couldn't touch him. Well,
exactly.
he couldn't touch him at all. But let me just break it down again. I think there's something also different with this case here. Is that I agree. Once the persons are in the American embassy, they are in the soil of America. But the diplomatic immunity is what they're talking about, and it's a status which is granted, like to diplomats that exempts. And I'm reading this from the laws of a foreign jurisdiction. And what it is talking about is that if such a person go out into the Jamaica, RAIM or whatever like that, and do something illegal or whatever, they're untouchable. Similar to the lady from the States who hit down the boy in the UK, and they tried so much to get her to come over, but she was the partner or the wife of a diplomatic person, and they wouldn't. They said because there could be um, intelligence and everything like that. So I think that is the bit there, which is that if they, I don't know, Ani, because it beggars belief at the same time, because when we look at it, so if the partner was of an opposite sex, would it be okay then?
Yeah, as I understand it,
Yeah,
you just explained it. It seems to me the issue, as you said, is around immunity,
yeah, yeah,
and the immunity, as you just read it, is based on local jurisdiction law, right?
yes,
So in this case, Jamaica doesn't sort of accept sort of same-sex marriage,
yes,
right? So what they're saying is, how do you grant diplomatic immunity in that context, right? I don't know this, but there's always waivers
Mm.
that one could provide. The question becomes, I go back and I get it. I get the religious context. I get all of that. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, I'm in this business. Whatever people want to do, that's their business. I
Yeah.
don't care, right?
Yes.
So to me, in this time and age, it's not a fight that we should fight.
Yes.
And I get it. People will say, well, you're accepting all of this from the US, etc. It's a different world. It's a different world, and we have to think about what sort of world we want to live in, because the world is moving forward,
Yeah.
right? It's just like decades upon decades ago, if you're in the US and I think the UK, if you're a black man, you could marry a white person,
Mm.
right? That was the law of the land, right? And in some states it's still on the book today. So we've moved on from that. So to me, we have to figure out how to move on.
Yeah. You see, the thing, O'Neill, is that on the books in Jamaica at present, there is capital punishment.
Hmm.
Capital punishment is there on the books in Jamaica. But can you tell me when was the last time they killed someone by injection or hanging in
Oh,
Jamaica?
hanging. They used to hang people in Jamaica. He's just
Yeah.
like, holy cow.
When last?
I think I don't know the answer to that, but I would
That's a
say
long time.
it's a
It's
long time.
there, but it is not being affected. Secondly, and I can read it as well because I did my research. Same-sex sexual activity is prohibited under the Offense Against a Person Act 1864, which is Jamaica, criminalizes acts of buggery and gross indecency. The law carries a maximum penalty of 10 years imprisonment with hard labor. Only men are criminalized under the law. Now, you see the whole point right there. There's so many animality in this whole thing. That is why the whole discussion now regarding Jamaica becoming a republic and the reform of the constitution, all of these need to be taken into play because, as Mutabaruka was saying, in
Mhm.
hedonism and certain places in hotels in Jamaica, they perform these marriages, but and somebody said, well, it is a ceremonial, just like in like sometimes they say in the UK, you might have Africans, Nigerians or whatever, having their marriage, the legal one, and then they have a ceremonial one in Nigeria. So what they're saying, you got the ceremonial, which is happening still at these hotels, and then the legal bit is taken in Jamaica. So everybody's trying to, I don't know, trying to critically analyze the whole thing. But the bigger picture is this. I personally don't see much of a big deal these last days now, Anil, and people are free to, you know, as you rightly say, I don't know if this is a fight that Jamaica wants,
No, it goes back to what I said. These are all stories,
Mm. Yeah.
right? These are stories, and the question to me is, right? I live in Washington D.C. I live in, and I happen to have a sister who's actually a lesbian, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, do whatever you want to do. It's like, I don't care. As long as you're happy, it doesn't matter to me, right? And to me, we're talking about a lot of times that, as we believe in the Bible says it's not us to judge, but yet still we become judges, right?
Mm.
If we are, yes, we are religious, we're a religious country,
Yeah.
yeah. So what are you afraid of? It's fine,
Mm.
right? You know, to me, just respect other people. Whatever they want to do, that's their business, right?
Well,
And
Bruce Gold. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Mm.
and that's the interesting thing. Bruce, you're gonna probably say the same thing as
Yeah.
Bruce Golding got slack for this when he was on an interview with
Hard talk.
Hard
It was
Talk,
on hard talk. Yeah. Yeah.
Hard Talk, right? And it was a big thing, right? And here we are again, talking about this. And at the end of the day, let people do whatever people want. Jamaicans has other priority
Yeah.
to talk about. It's no time to pick a fight, with the US or any other country over something that, look, just let it be. And I get it. If you're a religious person, then just let it be. You're not a judger. If you're a religious person, the Bible said, don't judge. Let God be the judge.
Yeah.
Everyone has to, so let's move on from that,
Mm.
and don't let it be a continue
A
issue,
stumbling block. Yeah.
right? That the world, because they're people. We're big on inclusion, right? Everybody should have a seat at the table, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
care what you look like.
what Kamina Johnson said is that the people-to-people relations between Jamaica and the United States have been the most successful area of cooperation,
Yeah.
and we look forward to their continuation. There is no diplomatic row between Jamaica and the United States as we continue to enjoy strong and positive diplomatic relations, added Johnson Smith. And I think what maybe is a bone of contention though, O'Neill, is that response apparently which was sent back to the Jamaica regarding Audrey Marks and
Mhm.
the other guy. But some people have actually said that's a natural, normal thing. After 5 years,
Yes.
it's if it's not renewed, they go back home.
Yeah, and the thing. So here's the
Mm.
thing, and I was thinking about it right when you said it. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, are there other people in Jamaica that could get the experience, right? To me, you know, are we going to have lifetime ambassadors that live in a country for 20 years, right?
Mm.
I'm sure each of these persons are qualified, have served their country well.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
after 5 years, go home and
Yeah.
get somebody else, right? We need fresh perspective. The world has changed over the last 5 years. You
Yes.
living in Washington, D.C. here, right? Maybe there's someone from Jamaica now who it's their time. As
Yes.
the slogan from your good friend, the PMP says, it's our time now.
I mean, time has come. Well, I want to actually. It is. I don't think they're going to come on tonight, but it is Vita and Lester's. Today it's their wedding anniversary, their first wedding anniversary. I
I
was
know. I
shocked.
saw some picture. I couldn't believe that Leicester actually dressed up Vida in green for
Are you
their.
serious?
Yeah, yeah. I saw some pictures of like, oh, dude, you actually got married and you have on your party color. That is some commitment, dude. And
Well,
I don't
let's
know how
let's
Vita. I don't know if Vita let that happen.
well, actually, Vita is also shower. You know, what I'm trying to say. So maybe she's the one who actually dressed up Lester. well, to Vita and Lester, happy wedding anniversary to both of you in Ocherius. We've got to somewhat adopt Lester to be an Ochi man.
No,
I
he
find it.
said it. I saw some post that he said he's now from Ochi. So
Yeah, well, he tried to ratify it. He sent me pictures with my sister, just because he's standing beside my sister in Ocherius. That doesn't mean the same as a Ochi man, but he has all the angles now. Got my sister there, got Vita there. Everybody says a Ochi man. But listen, it's very interesting the whole conversation still about who can deliver your change. And I saw this video the other day, and it was very interesting because I like to be very balanced in everything. And I was speaking to someone today, a gentleman named Rowan, and he was saying sometimes government do not get the opportunity to somewhat share some of the things that they're doing, and they have a hard time. So he's sympathetic towards their cause. But when I was watching Andrew Holness, when that lady came to him, and that lady said she wanted a donkey, right? People calling him Donkey Man now for whatever reason. She wanted a donkey. When I listened to that lady there, her
so so
felt
so so, so hold on.
yeah, yeah.
Some guy named Howard Black. This is where
What's that?
some guy put a comment there. This is where we need to stop that stupidity, right? It's
Yeah.
like you know yeah, we just need to stop that stupidity,
Okay.
right?
On the
It's
cover. Okay.
come on,
Okay.
like we need to stop that sort of thinking. That gets us nowhere.
Yes.
It just gets us backwards. So
Mm.
whoever this dude is, you might want to just delete the comment because this is stupid.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that. It is. We're at this era now. We're at this era now whereby persons their sexuality is it's just theirs. You know what I mean? And
Who
as you rightly
cares?
say,
Like
it
just
is God.
yeah, who cares? I'm like, stop. It's like uh, Jamaica has other issues, so let's not dwell on it. But
but
those sort of comments is always just tell me the idioticness of some people thinking.
mm,
It's just stupid. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. But as you rightly say, there are bigger fishes to fry. There's so much bigger fishes to fry in every respect. And I want to go back to this bit here regarding this lady and the donkey. She wanted that donkey, and Andrew only said, I love the video. I played it last week. He said, "What am I? Where am I going to find a donkey for you, man?" He thought it was a joke. And he said, "Where am I going to find? Well, a donkey is about 100,000. If you pay $3,000 to go taxi, and when I work it out, $3,000, $100,000 by a few months or so, that 100,000 gone. So she has saved some money. So
Yeah.
she worked it out in herself, and she said she's also got a Down syndrome child." And the prime minister looked, and he said, "Say no more," which remind me of an uncle of mine of myself who normally says, "Say no more" means to say it's done. It's a done deal. Don't worry. Say no
Yeah,
more.
take her out.
And then I saw the other video today, and she got the donkey. And I see if I can play it, but she got the donkey now, and they have big conversation. It was let's watch the video. Let's watch the video if you can play.
Yes, this is my donkey. You see that he's very humble to me already.
Actually, honey, she sound like the army guys in America. This is my gun. I love my gun. I'll always do it my gun. Okay, listen to her. Listen to her. Yeah.
He understands that I am his master. So he will do whatever I say and stay by my side. I will take care of him and he will take care of me. This is the thing that I ask for, prosperity, to help me to ease the pressure that I bear every day when I go and I buy a bag of chicken feed. Would be able to live a little bit more for my children.
Today, we're going to present her with a brand new spray pan. If you know the chicken industry, one of the hardest areas comes when you have to do your plucking of your chicken. And as such, there are new innovations now, a defeathering machine. And we decided to get a defeathering machine for the answer. I'm proud today on behalf of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining and the RADA team to present you with not just a spray pan, but your own brand new defeathering machine.
I only ask for a donkey to help me with my need, to come over the hill with the chicken feed. And I did not know that a chicken picker was in the process. So I feel very, very, very special. Hi, Prime Minister, how are you doing today?
You're a happy woman today, Dion.
I'm very happy. Very happy,
Nice,
very
nice,
happy. I'm
nice,
smiling
nice.
from ear back to ear front.
and you're making me do the same. You're making me do the same. Satisfied with the animal that they sent?
Yes, I am satisfied. My cry. And you answered my plea.
Great. So I gather that they have given you a defeatherer for chickens, that you would have gotten a water tank and a mechanical sprayer. I'm very happy that you are happy. I'm following all your posts on social media. I want to encourage you to continue with your farming. I know it's a difficult path that you have chosen, but it can be very rewarding, and you can make a meaningful livelihood from agriculture. And so the government wants to support you in that regard, and we note the need for further development. Rural development is an important part of the government's development agenda, and we will continue to do our farm roads. We will continue to try to bring irrigation and other forms of development to your area to make your life easier and give your children a better future. So again, let me say how happy we are to be able to provide you with this assistance, and we know that you're going to make the best of it. All right?
Say thank you for prosperity in my life.
All right. God bless you.
So he will do whatever I say and still.
The donkey named Prosperity, you know that.
There you go. The interesting thing, and who can deliver your change?
Yes.
And if you make it local and personal, this was her change. right? She saw the prime minister. If I remember, and there's a scripture of, I think the leprosy guy was, and Jesus was passing,
Yes.
and he shouted out, and the disciples sort of shun him. And
Mm.
in his mind, all he needed to do was to touch the garment of Jesus,
Yes.
and he was healed. And this is who can deliver your change. If you make
Yeah.
it personal, right? This is a farmer who saw the prime minister and made a request, and the prime minister delivered that change for her. And as the prime minister said, yes, you've taken on a career that is somewhat hard, but can be rewarding. I'm sitting here because farming, my grandmother, my grandfather, that's all they did was farming, right?
Yes.
So the fact that she's sticking with it, that's a good thing. Because I think if we want to invest, we have to invest locally. And if we invest in multiple of those farmers, then they're able to sustain their community. And I think that's where you're going to see the change start. And you and I talk about this. There's a project I'm doing, which I won't say much about it, but I've been doing this project for almost a year.
Yeah.
And is a project out of what I call, if you give them on a fish, but you could teach them to fish. And when someone asked me for assistance a year ago, I said, look, you got to be self-sustaining.
Yes.
And we have taken on a project to build an entire poultry system, similar to what this lady have.
Yes.
And in the process, I've learned a ton. It's hard work. But I could tell you is that it's a self-sustaining, because started with 1,000 chicken and then it just stopped multiplying. So now this lady will have the opportunity to do that.
No, you're right. And someone on TikTok said, small businesses are the backbone of the economy. And when I watch, as I said, I realize there's something in Jamaica at this moment when persons are locked, when persons are really biased against a party, they're really biased and they will not see anything good. And when I saw the video, and I saw when the prime minister looked at the Down syndrome video he said, I saw the look in his face, and he said, don't worry, we sorted it out. But what I see now, and I'm so glad, because I was watching, to see if they're just going to give the donkey only. I was watching because it's like somebody said, don't worry, we won't give you the donkey, we'll give you an electric car. Can you imagine giving her an electric car? Giving her a car. That's the worst thing you could do to her, is give her a car, because there's no way she's going to be able to sustain that.
Exactly. She asked for a donkey.
She asked for a donkey. And then the chicken and all those things which she's got now. And I've seen that farm, and I'm saying, and then he said he's following her on social media. That means getting someone alongside her now and actually start to film what she's doing. We just pray that pre-the larceny and people don't try to come on T4, because that's what happens sometimes. And keep it down low. But there's so much scope on it. And we spoke many times about the fact that instead of people sitting around with a taxi and waiting for passengers and running down the passengers, if they can find a plot of land, just like what this lady came out, we don't know, I was going to say pride, but what's the sense? She's proud. When I say pride, because people will say, boy, I'm too proud to do them things that are dirty my hand. But she was full of pride, because that is what she sees. That's what she sees, how she can make a living. And I won't be surprised if she starts to do some big things in her community.
Yeah.
O'Neill.
I'll tell you. I had an uncle, God bless his soul, he passed away untimely. He was an engineer.
Yeah.
Probably arguably one of the best engineers in Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
And he left that job and went back to our country to be a farmer.
Yes.
And let me see, when Uncle Colin passed, he had 3 greenhouses, and he did pepper, and he was making a substantial living. He gave up a 30-year career as an engineer and start doing peppers, right? So
yes,
Jamaica has the land to be their own food basket.
Yes.
I was driving the last time I was in Jamaica. I was driving back roads, going through through Trelawney, to the back roads, and get you back into Christiana.
Yeah.
There's something that struck me as the driver was taking me through the route, and I keep asking the driver, "What happened to all this land?" Because those land, I think they were cane lands. Silburn, for miles and miles, there was stretch of land with nothing on it, and I'm talking flat land. There's no sugar cane. There's nothing on it. So Jamaica has a way to sustain themselves and also become a net exporter, right? But we have to figure out to do sort of similar what the Prime Minister is doing. Because if you're able to give, or teach these folks how to farm, they gave, because I have actually picked, I don't know if you've ever done a chicken before, but you cut the head off, you dip it in hot water.
Mother used to chop off.
And you pull out the feather, right?
Yeah, we all sit down.
That was hard work, right? But now she has a machine.
She got a machine
to be able to do that. So now she could scale, right? So if you could do that 5-6 times, imagine how you make folks self-sufficient.
She was what she said. All I wanted was a donkey, and I got these things more,
including a water tank.
And she mentioned about that that thing to shred, cut off the wings, the feathers, and all those sort of things. So she sees and said, "Wow!" So she's excited, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we're not able to. Okay, as I said to Terry Long at one point when I interviewed Terry Long, I said, depending on who you're listening to, Jamaica gone to the dogs. Depending on who you're listening to, and then you listen to another side, and Jamaica is all right.
So it's here's the impact, and I was just talking to my mom about it, because if you listen to certain segment of people, even in this country, they tell you how not to go to Jamaica, how Jamaica is bad, how Jamaica has crime. And I have colleagues who want to go to Jamaica, and they'll say, "O'Neill, I heard Jamaica." I'm like, who's telling you that? I said, would you go to the south side of Chicago? I said, no, right? And we have to figure out if we are going to be the one that continue to bash Jamaica. A friend of mine called me yesterday because they want to undertake a project. And there's something that he said that resonated with me. He said, look, it's like, O'Neill, Jamaica used to be the center of the Caribbean and Latin America.
Yes.
Right? Jamaica used to be that. Right? So if we go back and look at our history, we used to be we are the financial capital of the Caribbean. We could be the technological hub of the Caribbean. We could be the farming, import and export of the Caribbean. So we now are at a point where we have to start talking positive. Yes, we have crime that we need to figure out. Yes, there are challenges we have. But if any person will ask themselves, if you go back 10 years, tell me if you're not better off. Because I remember when I grew up in Jamaica, I didn't have any light. I used to have to go walk to go carry water. Now, if you go back to the community where I'm from, 99% of the people, they have running water, they have inside toilet, they have internet, right? Yeah. So don't tell me we're not progressing. Obviously, we have issue around debt to GDP ratio, and you hear the people saying, hey, now that the Jamaican government has a 70%, right? We have 30 cents out of every dollar that we could invest. And that's why I'm not a political person, but you have to deal in facts. That's why the Jamaican government now could spend $40 billion on roads, and they don't have to borrow that money. We're making progress, people, right? We're making progress, and anyone want to take power in Jamaica has to acknowledge that we're not the same country we were 10
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. And O'Neill, someone listening to the conversation would say that one is sympathetic to the plight of the Labour government, and a colleague of mine would say somewhat not that he's sympathetic, but is sympathetic to the cause to make Jamaica a better place. And if someone say to you, you seem sympathetic to the cause, because I know that you're not that. You're more talking about looking at the truth and looking at the facts at the same time. How do you deal with that bit there? Yeah.
Here's what I say, Silver. It's, and I said it at the start. It's not a democratic solution or Republican
Yes.
solution. So in Jamaica, it's not a PMP solution or JLP solution. Is how can we deliver the change for our people?
Yes.
How can we give people hope, right? But we have to be able to build on the stories, right? So if you want to be the next prime minister, you have to tell how you're going to add to that story, right? What is it that you're going to bring, right? So I could care less about whether you're PMP or JLP, right? How do we localize impact for our people, like what the prime minister did for that woman? I am positive that they didn't ask that woman when she asked what was her political affiliation.
Yes.
Right? They just say you have a need, we're going to give you a need, right?
Yeah.
So to me, is all about problem solving, and I do believe that my little country could be the technological
hub
for the. If you look at Israel, for example, Israel has the most advanced tech in the world, and guess what? They're 9 million people.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me just bring in. I want to try to get TikTokers and Instagram people involved. Someone on TikTok says the recent stats show 10 years of economic progress. I read a recent report from Maria Durkheim. That is what someone said there, and people are liking the discussion. Dee's also saying, Damien Scott is saying, "Real talk, O'Neill," and Dee's also applauding. You see, and this is why this is so important. That is why I said, who can deliver your change? Is it waiting for the government, or you actually tapping into it? That lady tapped into a stream.
Yes.
She saw a stream and she tapped into it, and she went for what she wanted. She never and she said, I just want a donkey, because I have to pay $3,000 every time with a taxi. I just want a donkey to just go down at the bottom and can come and pick them down there. So somebody will say, well, if she got a Down syndrome child, I was saying to myself, and somebody said it to me, maybe the government should try to see how they can help her in that cause there. But that's another thing coming at the same time, I believe. And I believe she said, but she's a go-getter. Yes. And I believe it sets Jamaica, and she can be an inspirational person to show people farming, and also going for what you want. Farming, but most important thing is farming. Yeah. Michael Manley always talk about we can sustain ourselves. Every time you got a hurricane, every time you got something big happening, every time you got a lockdown, what are they talking about? Farming again. Everybody always talk about farming, and somehow we always it's like the momentum leave after that, and we're back to taxi.
Yeah. So I'll give you a sense, Silborn.
Yeah.
And it just tells you the appreciation of Jamaican products. So I am a big fan of yellow yam, right? And where I'm at in Washington, D.C., you don't get a lot of yellow. You have the Ghanaian yam that you get, and once a week there's a box of yellow yam, and they're $3.99 a pound.
Yeah.
Silburn, since this international store start carrying yellow yam, every week you have to go there early. It's gone.
Really?
It's Jamaican product. And guess what? The Ghanaian yam is selling, but not as much. Right? So now when I go see the yellow yam, I pick up 3 or 4 or 5 pounds, because I know next week if I don't go early.
Yeah.
Jamaican pepper. Same thing. So there's such an affinity to Jamaica. When I went to Jamaica the last time, you know how many colleagues asked me to bring back jerk sauce, aki, right? So, and a colleague of mine says, "Hey, I don't want any Jamaican style. I want the real Jamaican thing," right?
Yes.
So I would say is this, this story from this woman just tells you, if you want change in your life, you could make change. You don't have to depend, right? Guess what? We all learn from failures. You're going to fail in farming. You're going to fail in whatever. But if you keep at it, you're going to get it. And if the government could provide these microfinance and microloans to, I don't know the lady's name, but to persons like her, all of a sudden, you get back to where small business is a heartbeat of Jamaica. We could feed ourselves. And a lady like her could now take care of her family because she has income that is sustainable.
What someone said on TikTok, the problem with farming in Jamaica is RADA doesn't work as well as it should. One of the things that I heard, I think the minister was saying, he's back in the ministry. That's Floyd Green. I think he was the one that they removed from the ministry. But he mentioned RADA, and of course, if there's an issue there that needs to be developed, we're gonna get the minister on. We're gonna get that minister on the show one time.
But I would say to you, Silver, sorry.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister would agree with you. The Prime Minister would agree that there are institutions, and I'm not saying this because I heard him said this. There are institutions in Jamaica that are not serving the people.
Yes.
I don't know the details around RADA, but this is where let's get to problem solving, right?
Yeah.
If the National Water Commission is not working, how do we make it work better?
Yes.
Right. If the RADA, the Rural Agriculture Development Authority, if they're not working, how do we make them better? Right. So, it's easy for us to throw stones. It's pretty easy. Yeah. But how do we solve problems? I heard the government said, why does it take 6 to 7 years to build a building? Right. And there's this big divide in Jamaica because there's this construction company called, I forgot the name of the construction company now. I think it's affiliated with China Arbor is the name of the thing. And they're building in less than a year. Yes. While the other contractors are building it 5-6 years. And people are saying, well, this company now is getting all the work. Of course they should get all the work because they're providing result, right? And this is what we have to push for. And this is where we have to help. I don't care which government it is.
And this goes back to the point which you mentioned, O'Neill, some time ago, whereby the African countries have the African countries' government have their people in the States who are able to actually lobby on their behalf. Yes. Because really and truly, we should be saying to the government in Jamaica, as someone is saying here, RADA will be delivering from here on. Keen to hear more from the best practice in the Caribbean. This is some positive things I'm seeing right here now. So we should be saying to the government, hang on a second, we watch this thing. What help do you need to get RADA to be sustaining, to help the people? How can this situation with this lady, I think her name is Pauline or whatever, Dion, I don't know if you can remind me what that lady's name is, could be replicated and create a momentum instead of people. Listen, I saw something on TikTok the other day. It'd be crazy. People are going like robots. Women are actually going like robots. Yes, it is crazy. People are doing so much things. Maybe that's where they find money. But I'm trying to say, we are talking about something very sustaining. Yeah. And as someone said, pointless running after the US, better things to do with time and energy and to deal with what they are yard. Keen to hear more from the best practice in Caribbean.
I think that should be part of the effort.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen the African countries. There are, there's 50 states in the US. You have governors, you have mayors, right? What I'm seeing the African countries they're doing, their diaspora actually, they're lobbying the governors, the mayors to say, in the US, they're saying, let's take you to Africa to show you our agriculture. So guess what? just like what the Japanese have done for our coffee, right? Let's get the market open where, guess what? You could get Jamaica banana into the US, right? Let's get these governors engaging. Let's get the technical exchange going. And this is sort of one of my frustration with
Mm.
could be technological hub,
Yeah.
but they're not willing to take help only from a small circle of people who, I have told folks before, it's like, I don't need to benefit from anything in Jamaica.
Yes.
What I want is benefit to the people, right? And if you could do those technical exchange where you and I talk a bit about this, AI is going to change everything, right?
We're
You're
gonna talk
seeing,
about AI. Yes. Yeah.
you're seeing automation, you're seeing everybody talk about generative AI, right? It's going to automate and change everything. What is one of the big industry in Jamaica? BPO, right?
Yes.
Guess what? There's a lot of chatbots that are being created now that are doing the same work as the folks in Jamaica. So I will sit here and say there's a possibility 2 years from now, 3 years from now, those BPO service, if they don't transform, they're irrelevant because
Yes.
technology is going to change them. How do you transform that industry into something else to carry that technological revolution on? And
Yeah.
it seems to me we're waiting to what happened to the free zones back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Where we had the free zone, ton of people working in the free zones, and then guess what? The bottom fall out. And
Yes.
all those people went home, had no jobs. And
So
that's
but-
what we have to figure
yeah.
out.
Abka Fitzenley, who is there.
Dion is the lady with that.
Yeah. Dion actually confirms it was Dion. Abka Fitzenley on Twitter. I like the point which you mentioned is that, and he quoted the Prime Minister. We note the need for further development. Rural development is an important part of the government agenda, and we will continue to do our farm roads and pursue irrigation systems as we bring developments to your area. The Prime Minister. Now, whether it is the PNP or the JLP or any third party or whatever like that, that is something which is good to help to deliver change to the people of Jamaica, and that's what we need. That's what we're talking about. So I believe in either way that we should, in a responsible way, and as Ron would say, someone on TikTok, to show and to assist any government, whether it's Mark-led government, Mark Golding led PNP or Andrew Holness led JLP, whichever one, to actually be a plus factor to them.
Yeah, you're right. I saw a bit leeching. I don't remember the name of some development assistant where he wants to raise $250 million to provide assistance where people could, go for grants, similar to if you want to start a farm or whatever the case may be, provide microloans, microfinancing, right? And put a system in. And I do believe, right, once the government start now having the investment that they could make because they're not servicing the debt as they used to, that money then go back to service healthcare. So now we can do healthcare transformation, which is needed in Jamaica, right? We're close proximity to the US. Jamaica should become telemedicine hub. We have tons of doctors there, right?
Yeah.
It should be, tourism, medical delivery system should be in Jamaica, right? There are things that we're so close to the US, Europe, that we should be, right? I don't know why we're not, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I think with sort of programs like what Leechin is doing, I don't remember the name of the program, but is to provide that sort of capital for people to start, and the government will have also transportation, because I think one of the issues, Silbert, in my opinion, is there's too many taxes on the road.
Too many taxes.
Taxes. It's just easy for everybody to go buy a car and get a taxi.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be to the point where I'm a big supporter. In the UK, I think you guys.
Can I stop you there? Someone is saying, why the continued focus on the USA? New topic, please. Nobody's talking about the USA. We're talking about Jamaica, mate. Try to
some
listen in.
I don't know.
Yeah, go on. Yeah,
Maybe they're watching a different show.
yeah. Maybe I'm watching a different thing. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of the transportation system in the UK. Right? I think it's one of the best, one of the most efficient. How can we replicate that in Jamaica? So I think those are some of the things that we could help with. The diaspora could help with. And I think you're going to continue to have those push. And I'm happy, as you said, whichever government, just deliver for the people. Doesn't matter. Just make the change, deliver the change, and make it local. Because if you make it local, it becomes a multiplier for economic sustainability for the people of Jamaica.
Let's do a good juxtapose and let's go to the UK. The recent announcement by the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and he said he's going to pay 5 to 7% to the public sector workers. So he's going to deliver for the people. And where he's going to get the money from? He's going to get the money from visa applications, restructuring different ministries, but most importantly, we're going to get it from the surcharge. Surcharge is where they get it from for the NHS. So he's delivering from the people and taking from the people to deliver for his people. What do you think about that there in regards to that sort of? He said, "I do not want to raise tax, and I do not want to take any loans. So therefore, I'm going to increase the money that comes from immigrants."
Well, yeah, our visitors. Well,
Visitors, yeah.
He has to find the budget somewhere, right? It just tells you that when you have an aging population and your healthcare budget keeps growing,
you
have to find ways to sort of fill the gap in those budgets. And either you're going to raise taxes, but from what I understand, and you could correct me, taxes is almost 70%. So how much more are you going to raise taxes? So the question becomes, what's the easiest way for you to get that revenue? But what I would say now is, if you get that revenue, 3 years from now, when the cost is going up, where are you going to get revenue from?
Yes.
Right. So is this a sustainable, right? Or are you just going to continue to raise the visitor tax? So the foreigners are going to cover it, right? Or you could figure out how to use technology to transform the NHS, right? In terms of how you deliver care to the public in the UK. So it's an interesting proposition he's making, and I'm sure he has folks who have studied it. But I guess he doesn't want to raise taxes because taxes are really high, and you have to find a way because 7%. I don't know the number of employees. I think the last time I understand,
he says about 1 million. He said about 1 million.
So 1 million, and you're going to do a 7% increase. That's a big budget.
You see, the thing is that the immigration put a dent on the UK, and I juxtapose it and I go to Jamaica as well because I just got a press release from my good friend Rosalie Hamilton. Rosalie Hamilton is the chair of the Advocacy Network, and the press release actually says that they decry the heartless treatment of the Haitians. The deplorable decisions adds another layer of suffering to the dire condition they are, because the Jamaican government is going to charge 37 Haitians with illegal entry to Jamaica, as well as their pending deportation back to Haiti. So at the same time, while Jamaicans might and other people will say we got to let the people into these different countries, Jamaicans are also blocking the neighbors of Haitians. The pressure which is putting on the system. Going to charge them.
Thing is that we just don't have the infrastructure to take an influx. We've taken a good number. Jamaica was one of the first, and you highlight an issue and the hypocrisy. Nobody talks about Haiti. Haiti's a failed state right now, but it goes back to what I started. It's a set of stories, right? The story of Haiti is not being told. If you turn on the BBC, you could, I don't know when was the last time, or CNN or Fox News, you see anything about Haiti. It's a travesty. Yeah. And it's a bunch of decisions that were made that has Haiti going down the path. And it's the same thing in any sort of decision making process. It always silver and dependent who the leaders are. If you just look at it, if you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, for example,
Yeah.
it was averted because you had two leaders that were willing to speak to each other, right? And that's where leadership is important and making these decisions. And sometimes you get it wrong. But when you get it wrong, it has consequences. And Haiti is one of those stories that we have gotten wrong over and over. So
Many times, yeah.
yeah, Jamaica taking on, I think, I don't know the decision making process, but I could think that they're saying, look, if we let in 37, then 1,000 is going to come, 2,000 is going to come, and we just don't have the infrastructure
To sustain it.
to sustain that, right? And we, but I think this is something that need to be highlighted. Jamaica was the biggest voice in the fight against apartheid. Remember, we were one of the biggest voice in the fight against apartheid. Little Jamaica. So now we have Haiti as an issue. How do we take leadership in amplifying the issue of Haiti and how it's destabilizing the region? Because what happened in Haiti is not going to stay in Haiti. If Haiti becomes a failed state controlled by gangs, it impacts Jamaica, it impacts the wider Caribbean and also Latin America.
Well, that is why Anjolis, they said, I know people oppose the fact that Anjolis is sort of taking the mantle to speak up on and deal with some issues regarding the Haitians. People are saying that Jamaica has many issues happening than taking up the mantle for Haiti. But I believe that regional integration is something which is powerful, and it should be. The Caribbean bloc should be a massive and a powerful force at this time. I know there was some sort of strain with the Kamina Johnson bit, where when she was vying for the directorship, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and went against a lot of different persons. But I believe that there need to be a repair in that area for it to be very strong and to be very powerful as a region.
Yeah,
the Caribbean bloc.
No, I think you're right. So in sort of your theme, who can deliver change for the Haitian people?
Yes. Somebody just said it's encouraging to see that Jamaica is becoming an aspirational destination for migration. I don't think so. Is that correct? I don't think.
No, there are folks. I know folks who have gone back to Jamaica.
Yeah.
If you go into Montego Bay and you see people from all over the world now that are coming to Jamaica. We're close to US.
Yes.
We have a very good educational system, regardless of the struggles we have in crime, but they're getting a handle on it. They're getting a handle on their infrastructure. So I think it's good for people to move and do exchange. I'd like to see a lot of people who have the tech chops to move to Jamaica.
Let's look at a bit on last half an hour or so. Let's look at AI and its implication for Jamaica, delivering the change. I see AI a bit like when Facebook was coming up. Well, actually, let's go back. When internet came in, you were saying there's the devil in it, remember? And then Facebook came in on the scene. And then I also had things against TikTok because I never liked TikTok. I was the Chinese are trying to, this is really get all this information when actually Mark Zuckerberg was already doing it already. But AI as a tool and as a positive influence for the Caribbean, is it making people lazy or making people more effective on it?
No, it's not lazy. I'm going to forecast that 2-3 years from now, every one of us will have an intelligent assistant.
You mean a robot going to stand beside me? Is that what you think? What's Will Smith? so-called iRobot.
iRobot. So it's where obviously you have generative AI, and what that is the generation of new content. So we hear about the large language model, right? We hear
Yeah.
about ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Well, I think you started speaking about that before it even came up.
Yeah. So you and I have talked about it. So now you have
Yeah.
ChatGPT where you could go in and you could say, give me a strategy to do X, and it gives you a long citation. And those models were trained.
Yeah.
And it's a huge transformation. And what I counted towards is this: if we remember the early internet, it was just content, websites, right? HTML pages, and then you have AOL where you had search, right?
Yeah.
So we are in our AOL moment now, where I use, there's different sort of large language models out there. There's Claude, there's ChatGPT, there's Dale, there's others out there.
Yeah.
But I use it like I'll tell you what I did with
Mhm.
it. There's a book that I wanted to summarize because I didn't have the time to read the entire book, and I just went into Claude and say, "Hey, summarize this book by chapter,"
Yes.
and it gave me the summary. Right. So if you start thinking about there are now sort of apps being built on top of that you could forecast, where you could say, "Hey, go order my grocery and deliver it. Here are the things I want," and it will go out and then integrate with all the different platforms out there.
Mm.
So I think it's more augmentation,
Mm.
but it just means that there's a set of jobs that will be disrupted. So if you're in the services business, you're seeing more and more automation. Actually, here in the States, and I'm sure you're going to see it in Tesco, you could walk into a store, you could scan with your phone, and walk out.
Yes, that is something which is happening. And also someone just said, look at the legal sector. Basic conveyancing will be automated using AI.
Yeah, and
Automated
I'll give you
posting.
something to scare yourself, Selbord. So a good
Yeah.
friend of mine, and there's a case in New York where a lawyer actually used ChatGPT to do a brief, but he
Yes.
was lazy. He didn't check, right? So obviously there's what you call hallucination, where ChatGPT or any one of these large language model will give you things that you think is fact, but it's not. It's just made up stuff.
Yes. Yes.
He submitted a brief to the judge, and the citation of the case were not even real.
Existed.
They didn't exist, and it was just someone that's lazy. But I could tell you, I have a good friend who's a lawyer,
Yes.
and they have been using ChatGPT to write briefs, but they're using what you call prompting, where you create the first draft and you said, okay, tweak it this way. And he's sharing with me that draft that used to take them 2 weeks is now taking 2 hours.
Wow.
So
But Anil, at the same time, not anybody can just do that. You've got to have the intelligence to put in the key information, isn't it?
not necessarily, right?
Really?
So think of it's search, right? So if you think of these large language models, so if you think of Google, when you search for something in Google, you get links.
Yes.
Right? Now, what these large language models are doing is give you the answer, right? So you don't have links. So if you say, tell me this date on World War II, what happened, you'll get the answer right away, right? If you say, right, and people are building, tell me the most efficient way to get from this point to this point, you're getting the answer, right? So imagine a world where you get up in the morning and you say, or you type, and I think it's going to be language form, just like when you talk to Alexa, where you're going to say, tell me what my calendar look like, right? And it's going to read that back to you. And you're going to say, okay, reschedule that appointment, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to go in, oh, it's a doctor's appointment. It's going to connect to your doctor's system and reschedule the appointment.
Yeah.
So those are the things that you're going to see in terms of efficiency gain. We talk about, for example, if you think about the BPO industry in Jamaica, what happened when you have, I think it's tier 3 services, you need customer service, you call, right? Amazon use it, you need to return an order, etc. You call,
Yes.
and you talk to a human being. In the world in the future, it's all about a chat bot. You're going to call, an intelligent agent is going to answer you, that you're going to give that information as you're doing your prompting, and it's going to resolve the issue for you without you even talking to a human being.
Well, on TikTok it says it isn't good when personalized content is required with sensitive issues. AI should only be used by who are qualified in the manual aspect first. Well, you are saying no.
I'm not sure I get that point.
Can you rephrase that, Rowan? AI should only be used, I think it's by who are qualified in the manual aspect. If you can just write that over for me.
So artificial intelligence, you sort of have, so you have artificial intelligence, which is your broad body, right? So within artificial intelligence, you have machine learning. So machine learning is pretty much you're creating intelligent agents where a computer could process things without human interaction, right? And within machine learning, you have what you call unsupervised learning. And what that is in simplest term is you have a set of data and you just feed it to the machine and the machine classify it. So for example, if I want to say, I want to see only news from the UK, right? So that unsupervised learning actually then provide, hey, here it classify just based on sort of context and archetypes. And then you have what you call supervised learning. This is where you train. So if you want to say, is this a cat or is this a dog? You're feeding the system and you're saying, this is a cat, this is not a cat, right? So it's a human sort of labeling, as they call it.
Yes.
Now,
sorry, go on.
What you have now in ChatGPT is these big models that are trained on the entire data set of the internet.
Yes.
And you're able to create new content from that interaction, right? That's what we are in today. So now in the future, right, you're going to have these intelligent agents, but every one of us interact with artificial intelligence. If you watch Netflix, there's a recommendation system that says, hey, Silburn, we think you would like these things. If you go on Amazon, same thing.
Yeah.
You have these recommendation system. It's just going one step further where it's now becoming a much more automated stream where I don't have to do things. So legal places, if you look at medicine in terms of discovery, you have AlphaFold that has discovered in terms of protein. So I think there's goodness. Now, obviously, there's the other side of the artificial intelligence in terms of what people want to use it for nefarious ways, and we have to protect that. There's a trust issue. There's a bias in the data, right? But there are mechanism and governance that we have to put in place to do that. But I am a big fan because I do believe the difference this time around, if you look at the printing press, industrial revolution, etc., that was the disruption was not sort of ubiquitous. Now with these large language model, it disrupted agriculture, medicine, the legal, retail, advertising. So the disruption is much, much more ubiquitous than before. That's why I think it's so important for us to pay attention to it.
D and I actually, we did some playing around with the AI, and we got an article about Jamaica becoming a republic.
Yes,
and I think the only thing that needs to change in that now is a date when it becomes a republic. because we created an article already.
Yeah, so I have friends who I know a couple of people who have written books using ChatGPT. Books that they have published on Amazon.
Anil, where's the intellectual property? I mean, who owns it? Where does it?
So you're getting into where the discussion is leading to say, okay, who owns that? And that's why, for example, the music industry is saying, we don't want you to train our models on our music, right? And those are some of the things that, yes, you have privacy issues, but the thing becomes who's responsible. So if I and this is where the regulatory framework has not caught up. The European Union, I think, has one of the best, the AI Act, similar to GDPR. But I think where we are today, and the big debate is the regulation around AI, right, and how it's used, privacy, who owns the content. So if you train all this data, when you create that article or that book, who owns the book?
And also what's going on in America now with the Hollywood script writers, because they say AI is just doing it. But let's take a pin right there. Let me just hear what person's actually saying and go to D as well. Let's go back to AI should only be used by, okay, he said, if you can do the manual aspect of the task in hand, then one could use it safely. But the training data is the critical point. Another person, it's not wise to let unqualified people use AI in a field which requires qualification. Now that's a legal aspect right there, or the medical aspect right there.
It's like, and that's the thing, right? The governance. But it could be, if I'm a novice and I'm not a legal mind.
Yes,
I want to be able to go and say, hey, here's my case. Can you give me some talking points to when I'm talking to my lawyer, right, etc. And the whole privacy issue, the training data is important. How you train the model is super important, is what that individual is talking about. But the person saying the manual, what I would say, what we call it is knowledge tower. So if I'm doing a particular event, what is the processes that I'm doing today?
Yeah.
Right? So in your legal world, Silburn, there's a process that you go through. When you're writing a brief, there's a process, there's a workflow, right? So
and hold on. There's a system,
exactly.
And based on how they are doing things now, it is so systematic. O'Neill, I wouldn't be surprised if it kicks into an AI zone, because one is moving away from the papers. Everything is drop boxes now, a lot now. Yeah,
right.
But of course, right.
So when you're training these models is important, right? And you talk about your legal world is, I think you're going to still have lawyers, right? But
you're scaring people by saying you think you're going to have still lawyers.
but you're going to be able to do things at scale that you have not. So now, if you think of a law, and let's take it to a doctor. If you go to a doctor, for example, doctor will spend maybe 10 minutes with you.
Yes.
Because they have limited capacity or throughput, right? They don't have 24 hours. So they spend 10 minutes with you. I think there will be a world where now the doctor has all the information in front of him.
Yeah.
And now he could have a 30-minute conversation with you. Vice is running, right? So you have an augmentation. You're seeing it, right? Because the gentleman who made the comment around the training data is spot on. Because in radiology, you could train a model on things that the data has seen. But what is good is that, Silburn, you are able to see things that probably the machine had not seen. So there's anomalies you could pick up that the machine. Same thing in legal theory. You're writing your briefs. Now you're able to think about it differently and use that to augment how you talk to the jury, how you talk to the judge, etc. Right? So now you're able to be much more efficient. And I think that's where we're going to end up, is where we have to figure out the data privacy issue, the training issue, the regulation. And I wouldn't be surprised if the European Union AI Act is not what being adopted widely. You saw that with GDPR, where that was adopted widely. So it's still, there's no, what I would say, there's no expert today in large language model or AI itself. It's a new field.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, and I must bring in D right here. What she says, if you know how to structure the prompts with the subject matter expert language, it actually increases productivity.
Yes. So it is what I said. Like, I didn't, it's a 275 page book, right? I just needed the summary, and it summarized every chapter for me.
Yes.
So now I'm much more efficient because I could read 6 books and get the content that I want in an hour.
So what you're actually saying is that Okay, you've got this big book before you and you've got a deadline and you want to actually get the gist of it. And what you're actually saying to AI now is give me the gist of the book, which is the summary. Now,
Exactly.
in time past, we would have to go to the library and read it through and write things down jot by jot, jot by jot. Now, the question is this now. Mark you, when you were in the library, you went through the book and you pick out the salient points. You make that summary. You have an understanding. Now, with the chat GP on the AI, you're not going through the book. So if the book is 6,000 words, you're actually just picking up the salient points. Is that the same?
No, it's not the same. But what you're
Yeah.
more efficient. It's not that you're not coming back to read that book.
Yes.
In that moment in time, you need that summary. Like, for example,
Yeah.
if you're now using it, and the gentleman who talk about prompting, and what that
Yeah.
is that when you put a prompt, just think of it as a search.
Yeah.
You say, give me a
It is
strategy.
Deanne mentioned the prompt. Yeah.
Right. So give me a strategy to do X. So it gives you an entire new content. Now you can
Yeah.
start saying, okay, refine this. So all of a sudden in your world, Silver, you're putting an argument together.
Mm.
Then you say, hey, help me structure this argument. And they give you the first draft. Now you're able to add more prompting and say, okay, all right, why don't you tweak this and add this? Gives you another set of content.
Mm.
So it's the prompting and the way you structure that prompt is really important. And if you're really good at it, the question becomes, is that your work?
Mm.
Or are you just a prompt engineer? Right. And that's where I think there's a big debate in terms of who owned that content, who's going to regulate that content, what about the privacy issues, what about data rights, copyrights, etc.
Yeah.
That's going to be the struggle. But I would say this: if I were folks sitting out there, go get smart on large language model because it's coming. It's not turning back. It's just too. The disruption is just the disruption is just too wide, and the impact that is disrupting is huge.
So therefore, the message for what would you say then now to, or what would we say now to those not reporters, the writers, the scribes, and those Pharisees and those actors who are demonstrating in Hollywood now, because it seemed like they're not going to get rid of it, and they won't.
I think if you go back to the last time the writers and the actors strike, I believe that was 1980s. It was another technological advance, right?
Yes.
And that's where I think residual income came into being, where an actor was saying, hold on, I'm in a series, you pay me, and then now you're gonna benefit from it in perpetuity, and I'm not gonna make any money. So they get this residual income. Streaming is a big part of that discussion, right? But also AI is part of that discussion. And I don't know if you are seeing it, the deep fakes, where if I create a deep fake of Silkburn, should I get paid for it if you use it in certain ways?
Yeah.
And I think, if you go back, streaming is an important piece, because if you go back even to a lot of the reggae artists, or not only reggae artists, a lot of the record companies are saying, by the way, in your contract, there was no streaming, right? So it's the same thing. You might have been an actor, I don't know, 30 years ago, and you made a movie. In your contract, there was nothing that says that you get paid based off streaming. So a lot of the actors out there say, hold on, you're selling a lot of these older movies to Netflix, etc. We're not benefit because you're telling us streaming was not part of our contract.
Yeah.
That's where you see the fight. And you're going to see it more and more because you have more and more folks using deepfakes, right? So who benefits from that? So I think you're going to see some resolution around streaming.
Yeah. They're saying the strike is the largest interruption to American television and film production since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. And 2007, 2008 was the last one that has to deal with they're getting paid, isn't it?
No, both actors and writers striking together.
Yes.
I think this is
Yeah, many of them are upset that only few strikers are making it big. Like the Dwayne the Rock. There's a handful of them who are making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're going to see a big discussion. But artificial intelligence, the transformation around large language model is huge. So I would say pay attention to it. We talk about sort of Jamaica. I do believe Jamaica could be the AI hub for the Caribbean, but we have to think about it. We have to learn a ton of lessons from the Israelis because they have become one of the strongest technological country out there. There's a ton we can learn from them. So pay attention to it.
Yes, I think when it comes on to Chat GTP and AI, I think people will have to sort of be aware. It reminds me of when Facebook came in at the same time. A lot of people I see now, they're coming on Facebook when people are actually getting fed up with Facebook. But they totally didn't want to do anything with Facebook for a while. But sneakily they started to come back onto Facebook and stuff like that. Anyway, and wrapping up now, in Jamaica now, what do you think about the PNP JLP? You think there's going to be a change of government based on how things are looking?
It depends on it depends on the sentiment of the people, right? I just listen to the older people because the older people are the traditional people that vote, and the older people that I talk to, they're like, look, I hear the other guy, but I don't hear anything he's saying that is beneficial to the Jamaican people, right? And one of the things someone shared, this older lady in our 80s said, all I hear him is bad news, right? There's nothing positive, right? And you have to have the balance to say, here's what I'm going to do. But some people will say, well, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do because the other guy will take it, right? So I'd be surprised just based on what's going on. If the current administration lose the election, they could lose the local election. Could be, I don't know, but I'd be surprised.
Is that going to happen? Because they've been trying to get that one going on for a long time, the local government election.
I suspect they're going to do both at the same time.
They're going to do both at the same time.
That's my. I don't have no. If I were sort of a king for a day or prime minister for a day, and I control that, I would do both at the same time.
Yeah. And what do you think about the UK? Do you think Rishi Sunak will win, or do you think Labour is going to win?
It's hard to say. I think that seat flipping just tells you the sentiment of the country. And if things don't significantly change, I think the English people are going to look for something else. I think Brexit was a big issue because Brexit wasn't solved and all the trade agreements weren't put in place because of the pandemic. Remember, you had Brexit and then pandemic. Right. So now you're trying to work out all these things. And, there's a budgetary issue, right? Your debt to GDP ratio is straining. Access to market is not as clean as it used to be because you're now not part of the European Union. So it's hard to tell, Silver, because politics could change in a whim.
Well, what is happening now is that they're now saying that the possibility of any interest rate is not going to be as high as previously. So actually, one is seeing some signs of some slowing down or recovery, if anything. The Rishi Sunak is saying trying to drop inflation from 5% to 2% as well. That's one of his mandate. There are 5 things that he has put forth, and I'm trying to see if I can find the five things he has put forth. And
so there's an article. I'll see who it's by. I'll tell you. It's an article by Nick Cohen. I don't know him, and it says conservatives on the verge of an intellectual breakdown.
Yes, conservatives on a intellectual breakdown.
Is on. So he's saying that the conservatives they have lost their way.
Yes.
So it'd be interesting. So it'll be interesting to watch. I think the Ukraine war is going to factor into it as well.
Yes, yes.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because I know the Zelensky has sacked one of his ambassador guy for saying some things recently. I believe there are some cracks going on there, but
if you see what's going on in France, look at what's going on in France.
Well, what's going on in France? Sometimes they try to keep that down, but I mean, we know that there's consistently,
there's riots in the street.
Right? Yeah. As I can see persons are saying "Long live Brexit," "Long live Brexit" over there. But anyway, listen. Let's wrap up. I think the only thing I would say is that regarding NCB with Michael Leachin, he has sacked off his top guys. But
interesting.
Somebody says that's rich people business. That's 100 billion things. You know what I mean?
Nah, but I think NCB you have to pay attention to it because it's the heartbeat of the Jamaican finance artery.
Yes.
So anything that happened at NCB, you have to pay attention to it just because it's NCB. I think it's the oldest bank in Jamaica. I don't know if I'm right, but it's the heartbeat. I remember back in the day, you only had the NCB Bank and Scotia and CIBC. Those were, but the bank, I think National Commercial Bank, I believe, has been around for a long, long time. And it's a one that people said they trust the most. So you have to pay attention to it.
Yes. Watch your space on that one. Well, listen.
All right, buddy.
You have a good one, and we'll catch up and we'll see how things unfold. I think the Prime Minister is on his way back from the UK back to Jamaica. So many things happen while he's in the UK. All right. So take care of yourself, O'Neill.
All right, buddy.
We wrap up. Cheers, man. Good.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We're going to wrap up tonight on Talk and Sip. Thanks for O'Neill for coming on, and take an easy one. Good timing. Oh, great timing, isn't it, Lee? And thank you so much for guys on Instagram and TikTok as well. Much appreciated. Have a blessed weekend, and we'll just keep it straight to the point, and just have a discussion, because I believe we've got to be focused on some of these new developments and new things which happening at the same time, and especially for Jamaica, we're going to emphasize that the rod a bit, which will somehow help to sustain. And even the lady, big up to the lady who is into farming, and I hope many men and people will actually see her as a shining light, an example that they can follow through in sustaining their family as much as possible. Okay, so peace out. God bless you, D. Thank you so much. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for those joining us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And we'll see you around next time, and see you Thursday night and also Saturday night. Peace out.